we will be looking into the cost of buying a home, the initial cost, along with the ongoing costs of owning a home. Hey, I'm Will. I create videos about living here in Portland, Oregon, along with educational content around the real estate process. We're a team of realtors that would love to win your business. So give us a call, text, or email. All of the contact information will be down below. Now let's dive right into this topic. Now, before diving too far into this, I just want to note that we will be differentiating between two of the costs. One is going to be the initial cost to actually buy the home. This usually includes the down payment, the closing costs, and things of that nature that are a one-time payment, and then the ongoing costs when it comes to owning a home and other factors or considerations you should be taking in mind when you are paying for that monthly mortgage payment, along with any other costs that might be associated with owning the home. In addition, I do want to have the disclaimer that I am not a lender, and for each of these, you may need to talk with a lender to get a better idea of what these costs are. And if you need a recommendation, feel free to reach out, and I'd be more than happy to connect you with a local lender wherever you are at. The initial cost, the biggest thing that you're usually looking at, and the first thing most people are thinking about, is the down payment. Now, a lot of people think that you need to have 20% down when it comes to buying a home. That is really not a realistic expectation anymore unless you are in a very affordable areas. Now, note when it comes to the loan products, it's a good idea to talk to a lender to see which one will best fit you and what opportunities you may have as a first-time home buyer as well. With that, usually VA and USDA loans start as low as 0%, along with sometimes physician loans as well. And the next type of loan is typically going to be the FHA loan, and is also considered a first-time home buyer loan. But with that, you can put down as low as 3.5%. The next loan above that is typically the conventional loan, which is around 3 to 5%. And note that there's a variety of different loans, just like there's a variety of different serials. And it is a good idea to talk with a lender to figure out what one is going to be best for you. But knowing that if we're looking at a $500,000 home and we're looking at least 5%, that's about 25 grand for that down payment. So that's a good first understanding of how much it will cost for you for that down payment. The second initial cost that you should be accounting for is going to be closing costs. Now, sometimes this can be covered by the seller, and it was more commonly done when we were a couple years back. However, that has changed, and it is always a good idea to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. With that, these are typically anywhere between 2 to 4% of the purchase price. So it's a good idea to understand that this might be an additional cost that you will have to save up for. Now, when it comes to this, note that there's two other kind of subcategories to note with this that are an initial upfront cost as well. One is going to be earnest money. Earnest money is usually about 1 to 2% of the purchase price, and this goes towards your closing costs and your down payment. So let's say that there is no closing costs at all, that would then go towards your down payment. Again, this is a good faith estimate. If you want to learn more about that, I do have a couple other videos that I will have linked as well. Now, when it comes to the other cost that comes up, it's typically the appraisal cost. This is anywhere between $700 to around $1,000 to order, and it's something that you order before you actually get to closing. Now, when you're looking at that, that is going to be an upfront cost of once the appraiser does get there, you do have to pay for it. So these are things to consider and also know about when you are looking to buy a home, and those maybe upfront costs during the transaction that you will then have it go towards at the end towards closing. The third major cost that you should be expecting as well is inspection costs. These are going to be services that you are going to be paying for. And typically I recommend that you're saving around $800 to $1,000 for this. Now, note that we may get through the inspection period and can't come to an agreement, or we might find something that's a major issue, and this is going to be the cost of doing real estate. So it is a good idea to note that this will be an upfront cost and is a good idea to have in your checking account. When it comes to additional costs, just note that if we have to get a plumber out there, or electrician, a lot of times that will also cost additional amount. So keep that in mind when you are looking at saving up for these initial costs when buying a home. Now let's switch gears from the initial cost to the ongoing cost of buying a home. Typically, you're going to be thinking of the mortgage payment, which is going to include the principal, interest, taxes and insurance. Note that the principal and interest are the mortgage payment, and the other parts of that are going to be the taxes and insurance. The mortgage payment will stay the same throughout the entire life of the loan. However, the taxes and insurance will slightly increase year over year. Taxes around 3%. So it's a good idea to understand that those will rise, but your monthly payment will most likely stay very similar throughout the time frame of you having that loan. Now, the only time when this would change is if you have an adjustable rate mortgage or an ARM, and you'll see that mortgage payment that could potentially go up from there. It's a good idea to talk what that is with a lender and dive into that one, whether or not that loan product is an ARM or not. Now we're looking at the other ongoing cost. It's also going to be the HOA fees potentially. Now with HOA fees, this is another cost that is going to be an ongoing cost, and typically you see it in a little bit more community homes like townhouses and condos. However, you may see these also in single family residence as well. One thing that I really recommend also factoring in is going to be the ongoing maintenance costs. There are usually two good rules of thumb to be looking at when it comes to saving up money for these major expenses. For example, a roof is going to be very costly along with replacing your HVAC system. However, there's going to be small maintenance costs that you'll also have to do in terms of repainting, recalking, and potentially getting a new water heater. These are all going to be costs that you want to be saving for so that when they do happen or they do need to get replaced, that you will be prepared for them. So these two rules to be using as a good rule of thumb is going to be the 1% rule or the square footage rule. Now, when we're looking at the 1% rule, if we're looking at a $500,000 home, that's about $5,000 or 1% of that $500,000. Divide that $5,000 by 12 months, which then equals $416 per month that you could be saving. Typically, this is going to be a little bit on the higher end. And when we're looking at the next rule, we're looking at the cost per square foot or $1 per square foot rule, where we are looking at a 1,500 square foot home, that's around $15,000. And if you're dividing that by 12, that's about $125. So making sure that you're saving anywhere between those two ranges would be a good idea. And it also depends on the state of the home. If it is way, way newer, and like a brand new build, you probably need to be saving a little bit on the newer side or the lower side when it comes to that monthly payment, where you're putting it into a savings account. And then if you're dealing with a very old house that may need to get fixed, it would probably be a good idea to go on the higher side. Now, if you found this content helpful, it'd be wonderful if you could hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're looking in the Portland metro area, I'd love to connect with you. Feel free to reach out through the contact information down in the description. And with that, thank you so much for watching.